Hi, so in this example, we're going to discuss the same angles within the Cartesian coordinate plane. So if we need to find an angle theta, where theta is between 0 and 360, that has the same as sine as 200, and then the same as cosine 200. So I think the first thing we want to do is maybe draw the xy axis, and notice that 0 to 360 would be just the entire 4 quadrants. Okay, and then other things we need to know is all students take calculus, right? All students take calculus. So this means all the trigonometric functions are positive. Here, this means only sine is positive. And the third quadrant only means tangent is positive, and the fourth quadrant means cosine is positive. So if we're dealing with a function of sine at 200 degrees, well, 200 degrees is a little past 180. So I would say this is about 200 degrees. This means that the reference angle for this is 20 degrees, right? Well, here, notice that sine is negative in this quadrant. So what other quadrant is sine negative? Because that's the quadrant that will have the same angle. Because if we choose the first or second, those are positive sine, and therefore it would not match where sine is negative. So the other side would be the fourth quadrant, right? So the fourth quadrant would mean that it would need also a reference angle of 20 degrees. So here we could see what angle this would be. This would be, here's 360, and if you subtract 20 degrees, that would give you 340 degrees. And again, sine as 200 degrees is the same as sine as 340 degrees, because sine is negative in these quadrants. So now let's go ahead and talk about cosine as 200. Okay, so here, same idea. Here is 200 degrees, reference angle is 20 degrees, and cosine in this case is also negative because tangent is the only function, trigonometric function, in the third quadrant that's positive. So what other quadrant is cosine negative? Well, not the fourth quadrant like the other one, because cosine is positive here. And cosine is also positive in the first quadrant. So therefore we look for the second quadrant, and that is where cosine would be negative. So again, drawing in where we have a reference angle of also 20 degrees, right? So what would this be? Well, if we had a reference angle of 20 degrees where 200 degrees is, then 180 minus 20 degrees gives us an angle of 160 degrees. So therefore, cosine as 200 degrees is the same as cosine as 160 degrees, because cosine is negative in these quadrants.